Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Didier from CORKWARS, and here in the beautiful Napa Valley. This is the last show of the year, 2013. And to finish up the year, my good friend Anani Lawson, sommelier at Lucy Restaurant at Barisono here in Yountville, California. And join us, talk to us about the business, what's going on, how he become who he is. And Anani.
Didier, this is awesome. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's great to have for you to invite me.
Yeah, pleasure. I mean, like, you know, this is awesome. Look, so you sommelier, you're like a pretty good pedigree of a great restaurant. You work for the French Laundry per se and all that, but you're not coming from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Right.
Where are you from?
I was born in Africa, in the country of Togo. That's in Western Africa. And I was fortunate when my parents moved me to France, went to high school in the Paris region, in the Val d'Oise. Yeah. Then I worked for the Peace Corps for a short bit, then moved to California in the early 80s.
And how you become a sommelier?
Well, I became a sommelier through just working in restaurants. Yeah. Within that range of work, I became a restaurant manager and then a wine buyer, where it was critical that I knew what I was purchasing. Yeah. Spending the owner's money and buying wine that I could believe in, that we're able to sell. And that really pushed me to becoming a sommelier, because then I had to know exactly what I'm talking about, what I'm tasting, what I put on the list.
Were you exposed to wine back in Togo or not?
I was exposed, but for sure, I couldn't really say that I was exposed within a range where that would eventually prepare me to being a sommelier. I think my dad drank wine. It was one of those big bottles that had the straw wiring, the straw lining, and the chalk, thing back in those days. Those are the type of my dad bought, and we tasted them as kids. Diluted with water, and I liked it. But at the same time, I would have never fathomed that I'd be a wine professional.
You remember what wine that really back then in the early age, is there like a wine that really struck you like, oh, that's not bad. I mean, that's pretty interesting. You think?
I hate to admit it. Yes, there were some wines that I believe were from Tunisia or Morocco.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
It had some Arabic name, like Monastir or something like that. That struck me.
Oh, so so already you were really exposed to the high alcohol wine, a little bit Californian wines.
Right, exactly.
Just.
Even mixing with water, those wines still taste pretty good.
I grew up the same way. I gotta tell you, I grew up the same way. I mean, Sidi Ibrahim, from Algeria, that was the one that coming up in the plastic bottle. That's something I'm quite used to, or I was used to. Right. So. Sommelier at Barisono, when you studied that, when you took a position of it?
So I took the position in the last week of May 2013.
Okay.
Once my interviews finished, around I think would have been like the 24th of May. They said, how soon can you start? Yeah. And I had already planned a trip to go to New York City, so I took care of that, and I was back on the job around the 29th.
Yeah.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about the philosophy of the restaurant and how close do you work with the chef as far as who comes first, the wine or the dish? I mean, I understand that eventually, because we're in Napa Valley, seasons are very, very important. Right. So the chef may okay, this is what we're going to be working on. This is time for naves and that kind of thing. And how, do we have in Napa Valley, for instance, let's talk about the composition of the wine list first.
Okay. So when I, in my interview, I made it pretty clear that I wouldn't necessarily dictate everything. I wouldn't really just create my dream wine list. I'll definitely look around and see how we can use the wine to really be part of the ambiance, to be part of the personality of the hotel and of the restaurant. Yeah. So within that realm, we let the food kind of guide us into what we have on the list. That said, I can pursue my own passion for certain varietals that I like. Yeah. I'll bring them on the list. Yeah. In fact, I bring them on the list within reason, where they can still be quite compatible with what Chef Victor creates on the menu. Yeah. Now, as you probably know, it's a farm to table type of concept that's really anchored in our garden over there. Yeah. So again, the key is to have varietals, wine styles, alcohol levels that are compatible. Yeah. Again, being in the valley, we have to satisfy our neighbors and please them and make them love us. So
you have to be a little bit politician as well.
Exactly, and a good politician, right? Good politician, so we definitely deliver those elements by having what I don't want to call it a Napa Valley centric, but for sure, definitely well versed in Napa Valley varietals. Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Cabernet, Pinot Noir, which I love. And then within that realm, I can bring in some old world wines that I happen to have had experience with in my previous restaurant career.
Yeah, frankly, I mean, I don't see like anything wrong. I mean, I'm guessing like most people coming up in Napa Valley, for instance, are coming up to try Napa Valley wines. I mean,
yes, that's exactly what people say that, and I don't blame them. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes, given the opportunity, we'll say, listen, you're going to be in Napa Valley. In Napa Valley, Bordelais varietals are king in Napa Valley. Yeah. If you want to try white wine, we have beautiful Sauvignon Blancs from the valley, from Calistoga or from around Yountville. And if you give us a chance, we can definitely introduce you to other varietals. They are not strictly from Napa Valley, but from Sonoma Coast, like the Pinot Noir that we might taste later, and even other Chardonnays that come from the Carneros or the Russian River and the Sonoma Coast. Yeah.
So you guys are like in competition this month there, and the role was to create a dish, something that you guys are serving in the Wine About the Glass program, and Chef Victor proposed to serve, for you people to make home some solid diverse scallops with a celery root puree, toasted pine nuts, and citrus brown butter with a Lucia Arugula. And you pick from all the wine that we have in Napa Valley, you pick a Viognier from a very well-known winery storybook, but that's really well-known for Zinfandels. And I wasn't aware that he was even making a Viognier. Right. So tell us about how you come up to that.
So I had a short meeting with Jerry Sepp, the owner of Storybook, and he tasted me through a few of his portfolio, so to speak. And I liked some of his Cabernet, one of his Cabernet, a couple of his Zinfandels. Yeah. And he said, I wanted to taste you on one more wine, and it was a Viognier. And I can be quite skeptical about Viognier, but this one, to me, struck me as having a perfect varietal character, great aromatics, white flower, but on top of everything else, it also has fantastic acidity, which I clearly earmarked that for the menu. Yeah. And knowing the preparation of Chef Victor's cuisine, especially as it relates to seafood, where doesn't use too much fat, not too much butter, not too much olive oil, but just let the dishes really have a fresh approach. I thought this one would be fantastic. Yeah. So when you came on board with this idea, I thought I didn't automatically have this one in mind.
Yeah, and this is the 2012 Viognier. You told me earlier that there was a very small production of that, about a couple 100, 300 cases made of that.
Yeah. Exactly. It appears to be that he makes only 300 cases. In fact, he generally doesn't release this in the general. He doesn't really release this wine in the market. Yeah. He kind of saves most of it for the events and the mailing list. So we feel quite fortunate to have had access to this one.
This is very, very nice. I'm really I think this year we were exposed to two Viogniers, and this is the second one here, and it's very different than the previous one. Nice. So it's pretty. I like it. I mean, I'm and especially surprised about Dr. Seb making a Viognier. I wasn't just aware of it. And this is the 2012.
That's correct.
Yeah, this is 2012 Viognier. So tell us a little bit about some you as a person and as a sommelier while you walk on the floor. What are the some of the benefit of what you get out of that? I mean, every night you're meeting with people. This is a great thing. But days after days after days after days after days, what really drives you? And if you could, for people watching us, maybe what does it take to be a sommelier, to be a person like you?
Right. So first of all, let me just step back for a sec. There was a time when I used to be a tennis pro, so I taught tennis.
Oh, really?
And within that realm, I knew that it was my job to teach people the proper mechanics of hitting the ball.
Okay.
And it's almost like teaching people how to pick a good wine, a wine that satisfies their budget, a wine that maybe pleases their palate, but also a one that kind of stretches their comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing playing tennis or teaching tennis, where you teach the person to hit the ball better.
Yeah.
But some you don't want to humiliate them. You want to make sure they're motivated enough to try harder.
Yeah.
And I think I was able to transpose those same ideals into how I do when I approach a guest.
Yeah.
There's so many scenarios that can come on the floor. A guest may just want exactly what they want. They want the cake bread Sauvignon Blanc, or the guest who may like a Sauvignon will be open to try a Sancerre, which we can do that. Or they may prefer, or they may like a certain Viognier, and if I don't have it, then I can talk them into a different Viognier, such as this one. Or we can talk about a Condrieu. And so it's a fantastic platform for me, where number one, it is my job to only bring good news to the guests. Whenever they see me, I'm coming with a bottle of wine. And with a bottle of wine, you can't go wrong.
That's right.
Exactly.
So talking about bringing a bottle of wine, do you guys allow people to bring wines at the restaurant?
Yes, I think we strive to be a wine-friendly place. We have a pretty generous corkage policy. For the locals, the residents of Napa Valley, they can come in with a bottle, and we're definitely waive the corkage for them. I think that once we establish those relationships, when the guests come in the next time, they'll definitely reward us with frequent visits, number one. And also, we hope that they'll come in and look at our list and consider selections from our list also.
Do you have a question?
Yes, we do. We have a question from the online audience that's watching. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
So this question is about your back to Togo.
Right.
What was it like to grow up with an entrepreneurial mother who owned so many restaurants and cafes?
Well,
and how did that influence your?
Okay, sure. I have to confess that when I was young, I had a lot of friends because I would often take them to my mom's restaurants, and they'll get to eat for free. And in my household, or in the whole town where we lived, we were known as if you want the best cuisine, that's where you went. So from that standpoint, I guess my palate was already trained to pursue the finer styles of cooking and cuisine. As an entrepreneurial mom, I have to confess that at the same time in my family, they prized going to school, getting educated, getting a pretty hardcore degree, and becoming a functionary. My dad worked for the Ministry of Agriculture.
Oh, wow.
So at one point, I thought I'd become an economist or a lawyer. I went to law school, and I specialized in international studies. But having immigrated to the United States, I realized that was not so relevant anymore. And then I pursued just the entrepreneurial route. I've had many businesses, and they've all failed, which is fine, because I feel like I'm a better person now than I could have been.
But it's funny because, all right, so let's go back to that. I think this is great. So you came to Togo, you think, you set your mindset at this point is going to be a lawyer, or maybe even work for for Togo, and relate to that. And so you're coming up in the States, and you kind of pursuing your studies. Is that right?
So I finished law school before I moved to the United States.
All right.
So when I came here, I needed some time to figure out what to do next, and I had some. I sent out my resume to the United Nations, but I knew that I didn't want to move to New York and work over there. So I taught tennis around.
And so and you went to the restaurant. So what happened?
So
was it the restaurant was the easy way of making surviving, that
exactly.
kind of thing?
So during the time when I was teaching tennis, there came a point where I needed to make a transition into some other profession. where I'll teach tennis during the day, and then work in the restaurant at night. And the restaurant, as you probably know, could be quite flexible, where you can start as a part-time, work a few nights, and this was perfect for me in the free lifestyle that I had back in those days, to teach tennis a few days a week and work at night. But then eventually I realized I need to take the restaurant work more seriously, and the balance came to working in the restaurant.
So what happened when you said, like, when you made the transition to, like, okay, this is it, forget tennis. I mean, this is the direction I want to go. I want to be in the restaurant business. I think I may want to end up into the one side of the restaurant business. What was the next step?
So as I made that transition into working in a restaurant, it was clear that I was pretty articulate about talking about wine, primarily because I showed such passion for it. And I used to work in a restaurant called Matisse in Santa Rosa. And whenever there was a question about wine, everybody said, "Oh, talk to that guy. That's Anani. He was there. He was at Dry Creek Winery last week." So I walked to the table and I talked about wine. As you can see, I like to talk with my hands. It went really well. And one thing led to another, and ended up working at the French Laundry. And my mentor at the time, Bobby Stuckey, invited me to join the wine team. So that was really put me to the next level.
Bobby Stuckey, this is a name we keep hearing back and again and again and again and again.
Right. Bobby Stuckey is a master sommelier. He was the first official wine director for French Laundry. And now Bobby Stuckey has his own restaurant empire based in Boulder, Colorado. His home restaurant is called Frasca Food and Wine.
He's making wine too.
And he also makes wine in Piedmont and in Friuli. Exactly.
So if money was an object,
right,
what would you do at Barcelona? At a restaurant Lucy.
So if money wasn't an object for me or for the guests? It's a tough question.
Okay. For you, to develop the
wine program.
List.
If I didn't have any budget limitation, there are a few things that I'll do. I'll have a small wine list, perhaps no more than 400 selections. I'd also create a wine school, so that if the guests come in, they can sign up ahead of time to a certain wine education component to their stay at Barcelona. And then on top of that, I'll have a wine shop or a wine club where they stay at Barcelona in the heart of Napa Valley, in the food capital of Napa, which is Yountville. Then they get a wine education from me. And then on top of that, I can become their wine supplier or the wine purveyor. And because I think I have such a spectacular roster of purveyors, as you know, yourself with your background with Meadowood and Dean and DeLuca, it's all about connection in the valley. So we can provide that service to all the people who come through Barcelona. That's what I would do.
I don't think you don't need a lot of money to do that. I mean, they have to pay you, of course.
True.
Because you're spending more time.
Exactly.
They have to take care of you.
Yes, exactly.
But it's not like paying, I thought you'd be saying maybe I would build this cave,
Right.
You're
right. So
they're investing on you.
Exactly. That's so the truth is, all I just said is clearly attainable. It doesn't need any extra investments. Perhaps a few software type of things, or maybe creating videos to put that program out there. But the truth is, it's pretty realistic in terms of investment. Absolutely.
Good. All right, let's move on to the Pinot. Let's check it up. You can do it. And then, so for next one here, Anani picked up the Pinot Noir from a patent holder, the 2011 Sonoma Coast. And to go along with that, a salmon was suggested to have.
Right.
A crispy skin king salmon with a sweet corn pudding.
Nice.
And chanterelle mushrooms and a Cabernet mushroom sauce. Cabernet mushroom sauce and Pinot Noir.
Right.
That's interesting.
Well, exactly. Cabernet mushroom sauce and Pinot Noir. Well, the Cabernet mushroom sauce will kind of leave that aside for a second. But salmon, pretty rich, oily fish. That needs what? Acidity. Okay. And again, we're not going to pay too much attention to the Cabernet, but mushroom.
Okay.
So out of the Pinot Noir, we get two things.
Okay.
Acidity, red fruit, and that earthy character that we like in mushrooms. I think Pinot Noir is tailor-made for this wine, for this dish.
Yeah.
It's crispy skin, so it has that caramelized character.
Yeah.
So a New World Pinot Noir would be fantastic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Pinot Noir producers is the Patton Hall. I know, as we all know, they make a lot of single vineyard as well as appellation Pinots. Yeah. And we selected 2011. I think it's drinking perfectly. It has brightness. It has spicy character. I think it's really a good symbiotic pairing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the wine from James. I mean, James being the winemaker, but Don is the one selling it, and they're like quite regulars here in ToutSuite, and really enjoyed the variety of Pinot Noirs they're producing. It's pretty cool. What is the main character that a new stir a newbie coming up into the restaurant business should have to be what you do?
I think the number one, if I were to name one character, you really have to love people. And what that really means is to be able to withstand the challenges that come with dealing with people from all walks of life and people with a lot of high expectations. So that fabric you have by loving people would mean that no matter what the person asks, you will figure out a way to satisfy them. Yeah. Now, whether or not you actually deliver what they're asking could be debated, but at least to be open where no matter what the guest is asking, you can come up to it. If someone came up to me and say, Anani, I like Pinot Noir, okay? And you're serving this wine by the glass, but I can't afford it, or for whatever reason they say they promote, whatever reason they put forth. I'll say I can do a couple of things. Thank you for telling me you can't afford this wine. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you for free because I know that if I did that, I'll make a fan for life. See what I mean? I'll give you a glass for free, not the whole bottle.
And then you deal with your boss later.
Exactly, because the boss would understand. Because remember, the boss implicitly trusts my judgment. Okay. Because the last thing I want is a guest to feel like, we went to that restaurant and the wine was so expensive we couldn't afford it.
So you guys, exactly what to do for, if you want to drink for free at a restaurant. Just like, that's like one trick.
That's what we do. We're in the business of making friends and making fans, and we count on the fairness of the public. Yeah. And I think it works. It's worked before, and I think the public is very fair. And to say something, our markup is not that crazy. Yeah. It's pretty up there. But we feel like the price quality ratio is quite respectable and approachable.
What is the thing that really annoy you the most in the restaurant business? Annoy,
yes, right.
Is it like coming up, and that could be like coming up from people working with you, the attitude, or from the customers, like the abuse that some people sometimes coming up and be entitled of things, where you're trying to do your best and then suddenly So what is the thing that really, it can be something different.
Right. So, well, first of all, I feel I'm quite fortunate that I've been around the business long enough that few things would annoy me. Yeah. That said, it all has to do with attitude of guests towards other guests. Okay. I mean, my role there is I can take it all. Yeah. I can withstand it. I'm a professional.
Guest towards other guests.
Right. Let's give an example. Yeah. Let's say a party of four sits down and they could be so loud that they can intrude on other guests' privacy, for example, or carry on a conversation that really outside of the norms of what people could do inside a restaurant. Another thing that can be off-putting is when guests come in with an excessive amount of cologne. Okay. So that can interfere with other people's space.
Is cigarettes smell?
No, tobacco. I love tobacco. I've as I was telling you earlier, I've had my own time with the Gauloise, as we know, and I like my cigars. But again, the cologne can be intrusive to the flavor and the smell of food and wine. As we know, we not only taste with our palate, we also taste foremost with our sense of smell, the olfactory sense. So I think those things can be annoying. That said, I'm a professional. It takes a lot to really, shake me off my basement.
Well, here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Anani Lawson, the sommelier at Restaurant Lucy in Barisono here in Yountville, California. Barisono happened also to be the sponsor of CORKWARS this year, where the lucky winner will be spending 2 nights. And the hotels are beautiful. They're gonna even have, they want or not, dinner with you. They're gonna get to meet you. So I think this is like this is absolutely unbelievable. I didn't know you before. I mean, we spent an hour and a half. You came up a little bit earlier, and we chatted with Anani and I, and Lucy and Susan. And you're pretty cool. I mean,
thank you.
No. I mean it. It's been a pleasure.
It's great to be here. So
the wine are very good. Call James and tell him that this one is good, and buy a couple of cases of that. Very easy drinking.
Cook some salmon, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, follow the recipe here on CORKWARS. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Until next time, which will be next year now. Love you. See you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Chin chin.